the purpose of the ICRT is to establish and maintain teaching standards for Reiki worldwide and to train practitioners and teachers of Reiki. And part of what we like to do to empower our Reiki community is to share what some of the other LRMTs are doing. And I'm super excited today because we have Tracey Sullivan from New Haven, Connecticut. She owns Reiki Integration, and she's going to talk to us today about what she is doing at, is it Yale New Haven Hospital? Is that correct, Tracey?
That's right, Karen.
I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, Karen, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Great. Well, tell us what is it called, the Healing Oasis program? I want to hear about that.
Yes, it's the Healing for Oasis program at Yale New Haven Hospital, and it started back in 2013. So this has been going on for a long time. So back in 2013 at Yale New Haven Hospital, they went from one computer platform to another. And it was a huge undertaking. So it was very stressful for the whole hospital. So volunteer services, directed under the direction of Fernanda Clariana and Lynn Abel. Fernanda is the coordinator of the Reiki volunteers, and Lynn Abel is now the director of volunteer services for the whole healthcare system of Yale. So under the direction of these two lovely ladies, they thought that they would provide something for the hospital to help them through this time, this stressful time of transferring from one computer platform to the other. So, up on the 16th floor of Yale New Haven Hospital, which has a really beautiful view of Long Island Sound, um, they created the Oasis. The Epic Oasis is what it was called. And so they invited people to come up for either a massage or a Reiki session. All the hospital employees and volunteers were invited to come up to participate in this. So I was a employee at Yale New Haven Hospital at the time. I worked there for 14 years. And I decided I would go up and get a Reiki session. So I did so. And I started talking to Fernanda and Linnell, and that's how I met them. And I offered my services as a Reiki practitioner. And that's how I started being a Reiki volunteer at the hospital. So they provided massage and Reiki for a period of 2 weeks as we transferred to the new computer system. And the response that they received was so overwhelmingly positive that they continued this, and they now call it the Oasis for Healing program. And one other thing I'd like to say about Reiki regarding this is that most of the people were coming up for massage. And because the massage was, the line was really long and they had to get back to work, they were like, okay, I'll have a Reiki session. And that was the most profound part of this whole program, is that people were introduced to Reiki and they were coming back for the Reiki sessions. And Fernanda was actually um, taking down people's comments as they left. And the response and the comments about the Reiki sessions were so awesome. And people were receiving like healings up through
Wow.
this epic for Oasis. So that really started the Reiki program in full force at the hospital at that time. So that's how the Epic Oasis started, Karen.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
it is.
now, you're even teaching? Aren't you teaching classes in the hospital now?
Yes, I am. So when I went up for my session, my Reiki session, as a nuclear medicine technologist there at Yale New Haven Hospital, like I said, I offered my services, and I went up and I helped with them at the Oasis. And then I started volunteering at the hospital. I would go every week and see whatever patients were requesting a Reiki session. And I did that for a couple of years. And I also directed a race, Hope is Coming 5K, that at that time I decided to donate like all the proceeds from that race to the Oasis for Healing program. So over the 2 years after the Epic Oasis, all these things transpired, and Fernanda and I became um, very good friends. And she asked me if I would be interested in teaching Reiki 1 at the hospital because at this time they were really trying to implement this program even more so than it had been. And I said yes, of course, to that. And we've taught 17 classes now. And the reason I know that is because I was actually writing about my experience. And so I asked Fernanda, how many classes have I taught there? And it's been 17 Reiki 1 classes. And so I teach the volunteers at the hospital, and any of the staff members are welcome to take the class as well. Um, and just a little bit more about that is the volunteers, when we first started, some of the volunteers weren't, they would take the class and they didn't start volunteering for whatever reason. I'm sure it was, honest reasons. But so Fernanda decided that she would create a program where the volunteers had to give 50 hours of volunteer service before they received their certificate. So that's how the
Ooh.
volunteer part works. And the hospital employees are welcome to take the class without having to do that because they're working in the hospital and adding Reiki to their everyday work life and practice.
I'm glad you shared that because a lot of people want to know. Well, a lot of Reiki practitioners want to know how do I get that started. So that's a good tip to know that to have that, complete that many hours
Yeah,
first.
yes, it's very helpful in getting, having people follow up and follow through on, on actually doing the volunteering because as Karen, maybe you remember when you were first became a Reiki practitioner, you were a little nervous about actually giving somebody Reiki and until you actually did it and you got used to it and you realized that the Reiki is doing everything and you aren't doing anything.
Yeah, you just have to be there, go up and be the channel. Yeah, so
That's
many of
right.
my students want to practice as well. So I really would like to follow your footsteps, and that's why I was so excited to talk with you about what you're doing.
Thank
Because
you.
yeah, a lot of people who learn Reiki, it's like once you go like, wow, this really works, like, and you just try to Reiki
Yeah,
everybody. So, and this can help so many people. What other ways are you
yeah.
bringing Reiki into the hospital?
So I've done a lot of 1 hour, 1/2 hour to 1 hour presentations that I've provided to various uh, people in the hospital from cardiology group patients and staff members to my own group of coworkers when I worked in diagnostic radiology. So I created these PowerPoints that focus on teaching Reiki in a hospital. And I actually got some of them approved for CEU. So it
Great.
really gave more of an incentive for people to come and
Yeah,
participate. So what I do is I focus on the group that I'm addressing. If they're cardiology patients, then I talk more about the heart and maybe about the heart chakra. And I'll do a meditation that has focuses on the heart. So there's a lot of different ways that you can bring the information to the people in the hospital and the way that they've connected with me is because I actually worked at the hospital in diagnostic radiology, and then through teaching there and volunteering there, um, it kind of goes by word of mouth. So The first
Hmm.
step I would say for somebody would be to, if you're not working in a hospital, would be to start to volunteer in a hospital if they have a program. And if you're interested in teaching or providing a just a short presentation, um, I would bring it to the volunteer services is where I would start,
That's good.
because it's the volunteers that have really been the ones to implement Reiki in the hospitals. And I know that it's important for Reiki to for people to be able to be paid for doing this as well. I totally understand that and agree with that, but I have to say, Karen, that without the devotion of the volunteers at the hospital, it wouldn't have gotten to the point where people are being paid to provide Reiki in the hospitals. So they're
Wow.
really the heart and the soul of this. Um, and especially I can only speak of, the hospital that I volunteered at, Yale New Haven Hospital. That's been my experience there. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. And I think that will, most of my students, they just have such a heart and they want to help people anyway. And so that's good
Yes.
to know. I see we've got some things, it's amazing, spreading amazing light.
Yeah.
I can't. Oh, that's a big one, Justina. I'll have to go back. We'll go back and look at the comments if you have any questions. I also would like to know. I've all of my friends who work in the medical field right now during the COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super concerned, and I hope that you're safe. And is are you doing anything with the Reiki specifically for the COVID-19, or just
Yeah.
general?
Yes, absolutely, Karen. So I don't work at the hospital anymore. I took a job, another job where I do clinical applications. So I've been working from home for the past 4 weeks. But what I've been doing with some of the hospital volunteers and, some of my students and others as well, is I've been holding a Reiki circle, where they can join me, and we're sending Reiki, to ourselves and each other and the planet. Um, and this Saturday, tomorrow, I am teaching my first online class, and it
Me
is
too.
a yay, Karen.
We're rocking. Good. Go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Well, this is a Reiki 2 class that I'm teaching tomorrow, and it's for the hospital volunteers. So I'm doing this to help them because the volunteers are not allowed in the hospital anymore, for good reason. And as people that are so drawn to helping at that hospital and really, have come to love the patients and the staff members, they are feeling a little helpless right now. So tomorrow I'm doing this Reiki 2 class with them, and we're going to be focusing on sending Reiki to the hospital. And my intention is that they will continue to provide the same service to the hospital, but they're just going to be doing it remotely. And
That's
they'll
beautiful.
yeah, yeah. So they'll all be having patients just like they used to, and staff members that need it. And Fernanda is a huge part of this because she's the one that coordinates everything. Fernanda, the Reiki volunteer coordinator.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they're going to be performing the same function, but it's going to be
No,
remote.
but that's almost made me cry. And I was like, "Don't cry during a live," but
Oh,
it
Karen.
just moved me because um, so many people do feel helpless and they want to help. And
Hmm.
distance Reiki is amazing, and it can help.
Yeah.
It can help. It can help so many people, and so you are empowering them to continue helping, and that just it makes me want to cry. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's just an honor to be able to do it too, Karen. I'm sure you totally understand that it's very humbling and an honor to be such a part of somebody's spiritual path in this way. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm going to cry now. At this time in
Sorry.
the
Well,
at this time in this world, what an honor it is.
it is. Well, and it has been an honor to have you here today.
Oh, thanks,
I guess
Karen.
I know that you're super busy, but we'll check back. If anybody has any
Yeah.
questions for Tracey, you can post them in the comments below, and we will go back and check and answer whatever we can. And you guys stay home, stay safe, send distance Reiki, Reiki yourself, self Reiki every day.
Yeah.
And Tracey, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karen, and you're very welcome.
All right. We will see you guys later. As soon as I
Bye.
bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.